Okay, so let's look at how the camera performs. And remembering that a little bit of this evaluation is going to be looking at the performance of the camera on the Williams Optics Redcat. That's a 250 millimeter f5 uh, telescope with Petzval design that is really easy for me to set up and test in a night. That's what we had last week for first light. One of the first things I wanted to show you is how the camera field of view improves, what the draw to using a full frame sensor is. And what you'll see here in PixInsight is quickly, this is a lightly stretched, stacked, and flat fielded image from the other night for my first test. This is an image I took about a month ago with the ZWO ASI 294 MC Pro, a 4/3, roughly 11, 12 megapixel sensor, and versus the Canon Ra 30 megapixel, full frame sensor. Microns, I believe, in terms of chip, in terms of the pixels, I think are about the same. I think the ASI 294 is somewhere around 4 and change, and the Canon is 5, maybe it's a little over 5 microns. So, but you can see here the real estate increase that you pick up by going to the full frame. This would take me at least a mosaic or a tiled mosaic, at least 4 frames. Could probably never reach the total height, even with that. So that's the draw to using a full frame sensor. You get that focal length with that extra real estate that you're capturing. So it is important that the lens, the telescope, the field flatteners, the focal reducers, everything works to illuminate that full frame. My main telescope that I want to use with this camera is the Astro-Physics 92 millimeter Stowaway. So I'm really anxious to try that. But for testing purposes, this is what I used. And I was actually pretty pleased with what happened with the Williams optics. So this is the flat fielded full frame. Let me zoom in here a little bit, give you a taste for, let's go to 1:1 and give you a feel for, this is our center field of view. You can see that the stars look pretty good. Any elongation you would see here is associated with the guiding that is on the Ioptron SkyGuider Pro. A great portable tracking mount, but not the most robust. So I get a few errors every now and then, but stars look pretty good. So if we go over to the right edge, mid field of view, you can see some elongation, some coma, probably some chromatic aberration here. Of course, I always factor in that Petzval lens design. Maybe there's some reflection going on with that lens element toward the back. But here's the lower right corner. You can see some coma here. But to be quite honest, it's fairly minor compared to other lenses I've used. And I find that largely this is going to be a useful combination of the Williams optics with the Canon Ra. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but it's acceptable. And of course, sometimes you can crop this field of view. I know you don't like to sacrifice precious real estate, but it's something maybe to keep in consideration when you're doing your composition. Again, some more, probably I think this is largely associated with probably reflection off of that Petzval lens, that back element. I don't think that's the chromatic aberration, but it could be. I'm not a lens expert. I'll leave that to others. But for the most part, I mean, this is the top edge. You can see here, the stars look pretty good on the top edge. So that's really good. Maybe my focus could have been tweaked a little bit better to minimize that coma on the, it seems like it's worse on the left edge than the right. So I might be a little bit, might not have the focal plane completely flat. Maybe I need to shim it some. But for the most part, for most presentations in a computer that is going to be 1400 by 800 on a computer screen or smaller prints, this this combination is going to work real well. So that's kind of the review of the smaller 4/3 sensor, roughly 11-12 megapixels versus the 30 megapixel full frame sensor, 36 by 24 millimeters, same microns basically in pixel. Now the other thing I wanted to show you is the illumination, field illumination. This is stacked images with no flats applied. So you can see here the light fall off is pretty dramatic. But the good thing is it can be remedied very nicely with taking some flats. So what you're going to see here is the flats just really help reveal the light pollution that's kind of existent to the south from this is taken from my driveway. So it's not we're right on the edge of rural transition, but I still have some light pollution to the south. This is the town that's closest to us. This is actually bottom. This is kind of like the southeast, the bottom. I was framing it vertically, so it's the bottom left of the image relative to the sky. So that's our look in PixInsight. Let me take you into Photoshop real quick. I wanted to show you, this is just kind of revealing the sensitivity of the camera. This is 2 hours at ISO 1600, 3-minute exposures. Were all added together, and you can see here the camera showing great sensitivity. The other impressive thing is that the white balance is achieved. I have not made any white balance adjustments throughout PixInsight or Adobe Photoshop. This is pretty much straight out of the camera. So Canon has, I think, really nailed the white balance. Let's just quickly look at the histogram here and straighten that up a little bit. You can see here that I have a lot of layers going on here. I can go over my techniques. I'll do some videos on some of the techniques later. But you can see here that that's a pretty nice white balance. You know, there should be, the midtone should be favoring the red a little bit because of all the nebulosity in the field, but for the most part back toward the shadows, I like to make sure everything's lining up, red, green, and blue, and it is doing that toward the shadows. So now I can tell you I have stretched this pretty hard, so the noise level is, I'm really pushing the noise level. I haven't applied any noise reduction yet on this image. You can see some of the banding. You got the blue color banding. It's very typical of one-shot color and DSLRs. You got a few halo things happening here from my processing. So this thing isn't done yet, and I'm hoping to add some more data tonight or Monday night. But this is just a quick view of where I think this image is going and the sensitivity of the camera. Very happy with that. Really happy with the white balance. It comes right out of the camera. And the usability of the camera at night was very nice. I'm going to review some of those items. I think I've probably done that previously. So that's kind of our pixel peeping, and thanks for joining me on this. Let's do a wrap-up. Thanks so much for joining me for my first impressions on the Canon Ra astronomical full-frame mirrorless camera from Canon. Wanted to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the holiday season. And please like the video and subscribe. I'll produce content whenever I've got something I think is somewhat unique in the voices of photography and astronomical photography. There are so many influencers out there. Richard Taddy for my Astroscapes, and of course Astro Backyard for the astronomy stuff. So I just try to fit in, find my own little niche. If there's something interesting or insightful that I think I have, I'm going to share it with the group, because I think it's important for us to share. It's such a small network of imagers, and it's very important for us to share our experiences so we can build off of each other. So give me a comment down in the section there if you got any feedback on this. Here are my takeaways. Nothing that I didn't expect. Like I said, I've worked with Canon DSLRs before, so it's nice to have one direct from the factory, direct from Canon. I really have a soft spot in my heart for them to make a camera that's oriented toward the astrophotographer. I think that's fantastic. The other thing is I've been very impressed with the color balance right out of the camera. So I'm hopeful that that continues on regardless of what astronomical object I'm imaging. And I hope that that carries over to my astroscapes as well. I don't anticipate anything there, but I've got to remember, I don't know if this is the way to go if you're just exclusively looking for a through the telescope or long focal length lens imaging astronomical objects. But for me, this covers a lot of bases, from landscape to astroscapes. I love the astroscapes and nightscapes, and I'm really looking forward to capturing the Milky Way with that red hydrogen alpha sensitivity in the landscape this coming spring and summer. So that's why I'm as equally excited about that as I am through the wide field coverage I get through my telescopes and lenses. But it's hard to beat a cooled CMOS astronomical dedicated camera. Those are fantastic. But again, you get that real estate and you get the multiple uses that this camera affords. I'm looking at adding the 15 to 35 f2.8 zoom from Canon as my landscape astroscape camera lens, and I will update you on my experiences with that when I have a chance to get out and try that. So don't forget also to check out my Astro bin as well as my website, earthandskyphoto.com. I'll update the image that I've been working on First Light here when I get it finished and touched up. Like I said, a little bit more noise reduction is needed and just a few refinements, but I think you could see where it was going with the video that we shared with you today. The kind of the things I'm still trying to understand on the camera itself, this slider function, still going to see exactly how best to utilize that. I would really like for Canon to add an intermediate step between 5x and 30x in their focus. Love the touchscreen menu. That's a great option. And the overall usability of the camera, this top screen here, like I said, I can refer to my settings and what's happening there without feeling the need to open up the screen. The battery use has been very impressive so far. Half a battery use in near 20-degree temperatures for over roughly around 3 hours. So that's pretty good performance. I have one extra backup battery to cover me. So far so good with the Canon Ra. I'll keep updating you as things progress, but the best way to stay in touch is through earthandsky.com and at earthandskyphoto.com, as well as my Astro bin site. So thank you so much. Have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. And I'll look forward to seeing you in 2020.